The Marcia Week Show. It's the Marcia Week Show. From Barbados to Africa, voices unite. Educate minds, elevate sight. It's the Marcia Week Show. It's the Marcia Week Show. From Barbados to Africa, voices unite. Educate minds, elevate sight. It's the Marcia Week Show. Talk truth, build roots, stories unfold. Motivate change, mobilize is the mode, that's the MR code. Hey! We growing, we know it.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening, boys and girls, and welcome to the Marcia Week Show. We are coming to you live from beautiful Barbados. You see, I'm holding in my hand the national flag of Barbados, and you just heard the national anthem of Barbados. This is a wonderful Monday evening, March the 2nd. How is that going for everybody? It's March already, believe it or not. It was Christmas. Then we went into January, February. March is here. Oh my goodness. How has it been? How has March been for everybody so far? What's happening for you? It's a pleasure to be with you tonight. We have a very important show lined up for you. We're calling this a series. Okay, so we have a series. We have a 2 weeks a series right up until the 14th. Right up until the 14th of March. This is called the Kitchen Table Estimate Series. And it's called the Kitchen Table because, you know, when you're at home and you're working out your bills, most people, they're at the kitchen table. You know, they have the calculator, they have the pen, and they have the paper, and they're working out their bills at the kitchen table. Well, we're taking this estimate from the parliament and we're bringing it into our kitchen tables, all right? So tonight, when you join the show, you must have a pen or pencil, yes? And you need to have a notebook. because we're going to go in. We're going into the numbers. That's the plan. That's the plan. We're going into the numbers, guys. And what are the areas that we're going to look at tonight? Right? What are the areas we're looking at tonight? Tonight we're going to be looking at that. Yes, we're going to take a look at that because we noticed some changes there. And so we're gonna look at that, right? We're gonna look at that. And we're gonna break that down for you and see exactly what's going on here. What are they really saying? Why is there such a big a jump, increase in VAT? What are they planning to do to us, right? Because as you know, VAT, it's coming from us. It's when we buy groceries, we pay for services, we pay bills, and when we shop. All right. So all of that is what we're going to look at tonight, and then of course, we have to look at education. We saw in the well today that we had the Minister of Education, Chad Blackman. And we have a picture there, Dave. I don't know if we can get that up. And so tonight we are going to be asking some serious questions. Re-education. There's one area where we saw a decrease in school meals. What is allotted to school meals? We have to ask questions. They might have great answers and legitimate answers, but we have to ask questions. And so that's what we're going to do as civic society. We do not have any member of parliament inside the lower house. We do not have an opposition inside the lower house. And so we've got to do our civic duty because the money that they have in the estimates, all of that, it belongs to all of us. And they are in there working for us. So why should we close our eyes and move along as though nothing is the matter? You know what? Whatever they want to do, they do. No, not when it's your money. So that's what we're looking. It's our money. It's our money. And so we're going to sit down and we're going to go through all of that. But before we do that, we're also going to have Mr. Glenn Murray is going to be with us, and he is going to kick off the night for us at 7:15 in just a couple minutes. He's going to come on and kick off the night and talk about the presidential address that was made in Parliament last week. So he's going to give his review on that. And I just want to quickly welcome everybody: Bajan Boy, Mavis Lashley, Andrea Critchlow, Judy Jilts, Lucinda, Carol B, Teroni. How fast can I do this? Real fast. Ronald, Cedric, and this is while Dave brings up the information concerning the children in Maturo. Hi, Matthew Brown, Marcia Miller, Patrick, Lori Bob. I'm a big girl. Beverly Prescott, Mildred Ben, Sir Alfred. Yes, locked on from New York City. Angela Burke, Sherry Berry, Jacqueline Aline, Michael Jilts, Celia Mason, Brighter Days. Hey, Brighter Days. I know who that is. Good. The King Daughter. We've got to go out. We have to go out, Brighter Days. Hey, Rosemary Lane. Wonderful. It's great. Yes. Pauline Maynard, how are you? How are you? I saved back that number. Hey, wonderful. Good to see everybody. Judith Ann, Diana Husbands, Tyrone, my family. All right. So, guys, the Maturo Primary School Feeding Program, thanks to everybody who's donated already, but we still need more. So just watch quickly and see if you want to donate.
The Maturo Primary School in Western Kenya home to 700 children ages 3 to 13. These children face an uphill battle, not just with their studies, but with how they play. as we partner with the Mature Primary School in launching the Mature Primary School Feeding Program. This initiative is designed to provide every child with a bowl of hot porridge each morning before classes begin, just 25 USD per year. You can help to make a difference by providing breakfast to a child, ensuring that they start the day with the energy and focus they need to learn. Together, we can be the change that we want to see, one bowl of porridge at a time.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Dave. And I think there was still something there with the right. Okay. Well, thank you so much, Dave, for that. And we want to move on as we talk about my book, the book I wrote. When we lose our fear, they lose their power. And this is a rallying cry of a generation fed up with silence, control, and manipulation. And this book was inspired by the bold resistance of Gen Z's protesters in Kenya. And it is for that reason that every cent of this, all the sales of this book go directly into the Maturo Primary Feeding Program. And the paperback is $15.99. It's all on Amazon. If you want it on Kindle, it's $9.99. Okay, and you can just buy it now with one click. They're on Amazon. If you're interested in your hard copy, I know people in Barbados, they have bought their hard copy and they mail it in. You can do that, or you can contact me 236-7000 if you need your hard copy for this book. But just go on Amazon, search for Marcia Weeks, or When We Lose Our Fear, They Lose Their Power, and the book. You will see the book right there. I also want to take this moment to talk about a local business. It's they do early childhood education. Early childhood education. If they could put that on for me, one-on-one small group pre-literacy development. I think that's wonderful. And beginner literacy and numeracy skills in English, French, and Spanish, reading classes, varied child-centered activities with qualified early childhood educators, and they also cater to learning challenges for all ages. And we have some beautiful pictures. Yes, Dave, you could go right ahead. We have some beautiful pictures of children there. So there it is on the screen. Early childhood education. Are you having any challenges with your children? One-on-one and small group pre-literacy development, beginner literacy and numeracy skills in English, French, and Spanish. Reading classes, very important. Very child-centered activities with qualified early childhood educators, and they cater to people with learning challenges. If Dave could go on to anything else, Dave, any of the pictures, first form to CXC level, for French and Spanish, pronunciation, oral competence, reading and conversation, grammar and written expression. All right. And for more information, for some reason, they didn't send me put their number up, but I believe this is the number 268-8324. 268-8324. And if you didn't get that number, because funny, they didn't send the number with the ad, you can go ahead and you can message me and I will give you the number. But it's 268-8324. Do you have children who are in need of reading lessons, early childhood education, French and Spanish lessons? This person who is part of the loyal opposition, and they didn't pay me to do this. We're not taking any payment for anybody to do this. We're helping each other. That's what we are. We're a family. And so she asked me to share this for her, and I'm doing this for this wonderful person, 268-8324. It sounds very, very exciting, really very good. And those young people look as though they're really engrossed in what they are doing. I love it. I love it. 2688324 2688324. Support this woman, please. This is her business. 100% Bajan. And I know Mr. Murray is coming up. He was part of that campaign, 100%. I think, I don't remember what it was called, but I just come to the country. But like 100% Bajan, they were pushing that. And I've learned that he was part of that initiative. Well, Mr. Murray is going to join us, and he is a lead in the pack tonight. He's the odd man out. He's not going to be talking to us anything about any estimates and numbers and all of that, but he's going to do his regular analysis, and he's going to keep that through the 2 weeks, I think, until he hears the full budget address. And as he did last year, if I remember, and the year before, he then spoke afterwards. So he is the one that's going to come in on the rear. Myself and Maxine and the others, we're going to go dig in. We love the numbers. We're going to dig in. So Mr. Murray is here with us, and we're excited to have you tonight, sir. Welcome. We missed you last week.
Yes, well, but I learned a lot last week, and I'm hoping that I had not been paying attention to the numbers of the estimate. I was more interested in programs and policies and what. So I would be doing a disservice to the program if we were to come unprepared, ill-prepared, or not prepared at all. So I thought I would sit back and enjoy the expertise of the other members of the show, and maybe by then I learned something until next time. But I look forward to that presentation tonight. If I can then go into my presentation.
Yeah, go right ahead.
If you can recall, if I might repeat my topic, my title is called The President's Address to Parliament, Full of Substance and Meaning. President's Address to Parliament, Full of Substance and Meaning. And I know that not too many people might have given the close attention that I think should have been paid to this presentation by the president, because they were more caught up in the controversy over opposition seats and who would be in and who would be not. So I thought it might have been unnecessary overlook, but I paid attention to it because I thought it was important, because while the president was ostensibly addressing the parliament, he really was addressing all of Barbados and all our Barbadians. And it would have been his first venture of the type since he became president. And therefore I wanted to see how he would fashion himself, how he would present himself in a different role now. Because I thought speech was memorable both for tone and style and content. And it was a far cry from the previous. The president's address really replaced what was known while we were still under the monarchy as a throne speech. And this one was different not only in title, but also in approach and orientation. The previous throne speeches were usually nothing but repetitions of the government promises and program and manifesto pledges and that they would have been made during the preceding election campaign and in manifestos or whatnot. So therefore, you didn't really used to learn anything new from the old throne speeches. But this one, and those speeches used to be full of jargon and repetitious stuff and buzzwords, because they were very regurgitating, like I said, what had been said in other publications, other media, and whatnot. In contrast, the president's address was clearly of his own creation. It reflects his own personal and individual views and goals. And I was very glad to hear that, because I will always be grateful to Mr. Ralph Thorne when he was opposition leader for the stance he took on the election of the president, why two names were presented to him, Miss Liz Thompson and Mr. Lieutenant Colonel Jeffrey Bostic. And I'm so glad that he opted for Colonel Boston and that he saved us to having to be saddled with the likes of Liz Thompson as a president of Barbados. I thought we would have been off to a very poor start. And I'm glad Mr. Thorne, in his good sense and judgment, saved us from that. And while President Boston, in his address to the parliamentarians, he was forceful, he was direct, and but he wasn't patronizing and did not talk down to them. He did not burden us with a lot of fancy loose talks and long languages. In fact, he urged the parliamentarians to use simple language that could be easily understood by the average man in Barbados, and therefore make it more inclined to want people to listen because they can easily communicate with. And he said, so he himself used that approach and the language he used to use in his presentation, except for two instances. He broke away from his pledge, and these were when he used the term obfuscate, and which is to make something unclear, and then nuance, which is a slight difference in the meaning and expression. But apart from that, he was very direct. He was front on. He was direct and clear in his presentation. And I would like to think that all in all, it represented not so much the prize address to the parliamentarians, but a state of the republic in which he was strong and frontal without being confrontational. The president showed that he's capable of clear and ample thinking, and showed the results of his extensive experience and training as a military officer. And it's an approach which, rather than indulging in thoughts and challenges and thinking on what is called musings as thoughts of clear to people, that he was clear and coherent in his presentation, and therefore he made a lot of difference in his structured, and he dealt with areas which was clear, which of a concern to the average Barbadian. He talked therefore about, he said that he wanted, and he called on the parliamentarians to address things that of people's lived experience, and the things he selected for his personal attention were of people's lived experience. Some of the areas, as a matter of fact, it is something that other parliamentarians can learn from him. All the vast majority of them, who normally give their wishes and their hopes, and then they love to give a challenge rather by coming up with a proposed program and get reaction. They like to challenge people to do things and help them with the work. And he was direct, like I said, and decisive, which is not to be surprised given the high level of training he had received as a professional soldier, going to the esteemed Sandhurst College and other well-known institutions. And one thing you know about the military, they can always come up with a plan and an objective even before they start something. So it was a welcome relief in that regard, and he did very well. He did very well in that time. He zeroed in, like I said, in things which are of importance and matter to the common man, the Irish Barbadian. Let me give you some examples. He called on the government and parliamentarians to do something about the chronic traffic congestion. And when he said that, I remember that late last year, you might recall, the Prime Minister had virtually overnight announced that from, in a couple of days' time, I think it was from the 1st of November, there was going to be this traffic experiment on Caliber Rock, where on mornings, the traffic only go on downhill into Bridgetown, and after the one way only uphill from Bridgetown. Fortunately, that was so obviously not thought out, that it never saw the light of day. But he's not calling therefore for the government to come with the chronic traffic congestion, deal with the crisis in public health, in public health care, the need to protect our democracy and regain public trust in government, the Category 5 hurricane, which he very vividly describes a threat to the national security as in the context of crime and gun violence. He also called on the government to look at voter apathy, and express himself, talk about the unsatisfied state of the voter registration and the ability of people to vote. And among other things, the president said, now these are his direct quotes. Like I said, he was very direct and clear. He did not mix where he wasn't offensive, but he very, very pointed and direct, like I just like how if like a sharpshooter, like an air shooter, a crack shooter in the military, they would know how to reach the target. And he said, for example, we cannot ignore the complaints by several persons regarding the several challenges they experience in exercising that right to vote. And then he continued, we cannot ignore the signals sent by the electorate, communicated by way of too many people opting not to vote. I deliberately quoted those direct quotes from the president, because when he dealt with the whole question of the unfortunate circumstances surrounding the Electoral Boundaries Commission and the voter registration process, etc., all the difficulties that cause the voter turnout, I had to contrast it, direct contrast, with the mouthings of Mr. Ramon Allen, the last known chairman of the Electoral Boundaries Commission, who is now a government center. And he said, and which Mr. Allen is quoted in the Barbados Stadium on February 20th, saying, yeah, he said he could only do what I can only describe as or I can only describe what he said as it was self-serving and self-praising about the Electoral Boundaries Commission, because he said, and I quote, the electoral system, despite all the controversy, all the instances that were pointed out by the outside observer team, as far as Mr. Ali was concerned, he said, the electoral system remains sound and above reproach. And he rejected any suggestion that recent controversies had undermined the confidence of the public in the process and system. And he also added, and that no substantial element of the system has ever been called into question. I'm wondering, by whom? By the ABC, by yourself? For whom were you speaking when you said, when you could be so adamant and so make such a strong claim that no substantial element of the system has ever been called into question? When the people, the public, the political parties, even the visiting observer team, whose chairman said that the voter register is probably the most important part of any election. So I'm yet to understand what was the basis of Mr. Ali's adamant and his poor defense of what has been a very sorry day and unfortunate day or term in the approach and the practice of the Electoral Boundaries Commission. We're studying stark contrast with this traditional and well-known and highly respected method of operation in the past. And the observer team said that the register of electors or the electoral list is probably one of the most important aspects of the election. I also recall when Mr. Allen took his position, as to me his unrealistic position, inaccurate position, that I remember the old Barbadian saying, a fisherman never say his fish stink or bad. A fisherman never acknowledges that his fish is taken or bad because he's looking for sales. So it's in that context then that I treated Mr. Allen's declaration on the question of election. But I was also pleased too that the president also made a pledge, and it's already underway, when he said that he pledged to visit every school in Barbados and assist in guiding and inspiring and shaping the youth. That is the pledge, like he said, which is already undertaken. And he said also, and these are very poignant and straight talking simple presentations from the president. He said, we must engage our children from the primary level and through the secondary level too. So I think that's something that and I suggest that in that regard, when he visits the school, he pays attention to the primary schools, even the secondary schools, but particularly the primary school to start with that, because the schools are suffering from rich, thriving, active Girl Guides, Scouts troops, Brownie troops, etc. And because there's an absence and there's not enough leadership person who want to join and interact and set up the groups and troops, etc. to get with the idea of getting at the very earliest possible age from the primary school, get them into a disciplined environment where they can learn certain values and practice that will serve them as they go on to high school, secondary school, where they can then join the cadets. I want to talk about the cadets. I'm told that persons who work in the field of trying to maintain the existence of the guides and brownies and cubs and scouts, etc. That while the cadets get free uniform, the brownies and scouts and guides do not. And I'm told that, for example, a guide uniform could cost $100 to $200 for the girl guides, and then they have to spend another $50, $60 to do what's not activity wear. So I'm saying, and I'm told from the person who are still working in the field, that the reason why part of the problem is that many parents cannot afford nearly $200 or so for a uniform. And I'm suggesting that government needs to find a way of making it affordable for Cub Scouts, Brownies, guides to be able to join and benefit from the discipline, the training, the experiences, the positive experience in their life. Because any money spent there will be more than made up for by what they will save by preventing these children from running afoul of the law and end up in prison and before the courts, etc. And I think that is something that when the president, I'd like to suggest that while the president visits his school, you also try to set up a program, find some means where you can get and encourage the formation of these troops, and also see what resources we needed, and find out and maybe have a fundraising effort, to raise funds that could help finance the uniforms and other items needed for the brownies and guides and whatnot. I think it's a worthwhile effort. I think it's something that Barbados can invest in. Although I believe the government also should pave the way by giving a substantial sum towards this movement, because I remember when I was in government under Prime Minister in Arthur, I believe every year in estimates he'd always make sure that all these groups, and there are hundreds of groups and bribes that get subventions, and I do not understand why the guides and the brownies and the cubs can't get a subvention too. I like the rationale to justify that. I know that we are talking about estimates time and the budget is coming next week. I think a case should be made that they too, that movement at the junior level gets some financial assistance as goal at the same as it's done to the cadets, etc. And I also want to talk about that the president has again used his office and his speech to demonstrate that he has the capacity to get from what can be called a concept or proposal to an operationalized realistic program. I'm talking about when he was on the day of his inauguration on November 30th last year. He announced that it was his intention to set up what he called the Chapman Challenge, which was meant to a national case in defense of our youth. For as he said, is unless you are able to translate a vision into a realistic function activity. And he gave some very interesting words, which I wrote down there because I think it's a very good phrase. He said, a vision without a vehicle is merely a wish. A vision without a vehicle is merely a wish. And therefore, he was able to, in the short time, in 4 months, he said it on November 30th, and by the time he spoke last week before, he was able to announce that he had set up, he takes actual steps to bring about, to translate the vision into a vehicle, because he had created a machinery in 3 months, what he called a machinery, to translate the vision into reality through the development of a guide, set up the Chapman Charter with rules, regulations, training, etc. It also has a governance structure with other operational features to come through a national steering committee. So he's given realization to his vision, 3 months old. And therefore, it stuck on me because so far over the last 2 terms of this government, there are many ministers who have proposed things, challenged, issue things, but have struggled to get them anywhere near what the president called a vehicle, to bring into realization, to make it meaningful and operational in the public's eyes and experience, in their lived daily experience. And I can refer that to what has the failure, the blunt failure, the embarrassing failure of the government to, in the 5th year of a republic, to be still without a functioning, designed Republican constitution. I put that in that maybe the president when we had governor generals, I was aware of a system where the governor general and the prime minister would meet frequently, every few weeks, to discuss matters, either at each other's instance or invitation. In Britain, there's a weekly meeting between the prime minister and the king, weekly. That I'm not sure if it was so rigid in Barbados, but it used to be frequent. I would like to suggest that that is something the minister, the president can do with the prime minister, bring these issues, which he said that people's clear lived experience, the attention in that context for the prime minister. Teach the prime minister is not too old to learn, or the minister how to bring something from a vision to realization, past a wish. I think because I've seen it happen in the education transformation, people empowerment, people enfranchisement, community empowerment, the blue economy. These are things which have been vague buzzwords, undefined, for any structural coherence, which have not yet been fully realized in the public's estimation, despite the long time that they have been in existence, and how frequently they've been mentioned in that regard. And therefore, I thought the president, it was a very good opening salvo for the presidents. I have to use some militaries from the president. Artillery, I thought it was impactful. I thought he set a standard which hopefully he retained over the years. And I will I pay a close attention to him because I took note of the stance he took when there was reported instance of a scheme to import some what turned to be a scandal involving court cases, some vaccines allegedly to be used in Barbados and the Caribbean to fight the COVID. And he said that when this was announced, he said he knew none about it. He did not sign the letter. As you will recall, that letter was signed by the permanent secretary in the Ministry of Health, who some time thereafter received a national award known as the most honorable. I put that in that regard. So I think that maybe people, if they have a chance, can go back on YouTube and listen those who hadn't paid attention. But I thought it was a good start, and I am looking forward to the president maintaining his standards both for his future utterances, where he talks direct to the public. He doesn't have to get the prime minister permission to do it. He can do it anytime he wants. For example, I'd like to suggest that at Christmas, rather than having a Christmas message, and everybody's talking around the same old talk that's been around for hundreds of years, and then they probably just use a New Year's or Christmas. But we don't all know the tenets and the objects of Christmas celebration. But on New Year's, where people can have their spirits uplifted, their eyes open, something to help to look forward to as a national goal. Maybe this is something that he can incorporate into his program. I don't know what plans he has, but I'm sure like a good military man, he always plans ahead. So he might be very well ahead in that regard. But I thought something like that would be quite useful rather than just trotting out tired phrases about Christmas and New Year's, etc. I think it'd be more useful and more effective, and that persons could learn a lot from it. So, like I said, I want to congratulate him on his presentation. I think it's something that was easily understood. You could follow his thoughts, you could see his clear thinking, the goal and outcomes for each one. And I just want to wish him best of luck for this board. And I look forward to seeing how the rest of his from Chapman to Hillaby, unfurls in the eyes and practice and adoption by the Barbadian public and the target group to which is directly addressed. So that's my presentation on that regard, Marcia. I don't know if you want to ask anything over the next minute or so which you have left.
Yeah, well, I just, I think that it's a great analysis. As you rightly said, I don't think, well, I know for sure, I wasn't listening, and I didn't hear it. It's good, very interesting. It makes me want to go back and to listen and to look forward to what it is that he has in store. And I think people are listening, and I don't know how many of them actually heard it, but it's good that that's what I love about the show. It's educational. It was educational for me, because I didn't hear it. So it was good. And so thank you so very much for all of that analysis. And I see Miss Maxine McLean getting ready to jump on in. Anything else you want to say, Mr. Murray, before we jump into the numbers?
I look forward to your presentation tonight, and as how this whole exercise unfurls over the next 2 weeks or so, especially include the budget, because I have some thoughts on the budget that I would like to. I probably maybe I can if I can do something about my thoughts on the budget on this. Next week's the 19th, with this on the 16th. So you can probably do something on a pre-budget program. What do people want to see in the next budget project on the 16th of March, 2 Mondays from now? All right.
Yes.
Well,
all right. Thank you so much, Mr. Murray, and looking forward to that. And I want to thank you for your involvement in this civic activity as a volunteer. And you bring your knowledge, you bring your expertise, you bring your professionalism. And thank you for your understanding. We have to change things last minute, and you are, and I think because you've been a broadcast man, and I just want to thank you.
It is that I am by nature a team person. Once I've been involved in a group, I'm willing to subject my personal wishes and ego for the benefit of the entire group. So I don't get caught up in those guys. So that's the way I am. Thank you very much.
You have done that. Thank you so much. And Mr. Murray, we as what is at stake right now. That we don't have a formal opposition really we don't have any opposition in the lower house, and so we really want to get.
You mean in the House of Assembly?
Yes.
Right.
So we want to get civic society involved. And as much as possible. And so thank you for your
if I may just add quickly, in that regard, you would regard that I was on the show when there were some issues came about land and water. You were able to
Yes,
bring out Barbadians. If we can bring out some of those persons here to add value on quality of the presentations, I think, and that did a lot for the image and the reputation of the show. If you can repeat that in whatever area you do, brings persons who are experts in their
that
field
are
and have
willing
no
to
accident.
come. Yeah,
I
we
love it. Yes.
continue to
All right.
see experts. We
All
do
right.
weekly. Thank
All
you
right.
so very
Good.
much.
Good night.
God bless.
Good night.
Bye bye.
Bye
Yes.
bye.
Bye. Yes, we'll continue to seek experts as we were asking even from last night for accountants. I want to thank those of you who have responded. Just as Mr. Murray is saying, that we do need those experts involved. Even though I myself, I'm trained as an accountant, Miss McLean, has many years in business and management, and in she served in ministry in Barbados in the government. But we are looking for people who are, if you're an accountant, you're an economist, and in these 2 weeks you want to lend your services, you want to volunteer your services. I believe that is going to be that's going to go a long way, as Mr. Murray is suggesting. And again, thanks to those who stepped up and called me after the show and said, listen, I will be there. I can't come on, but you can always check with me and I will listen and I will give my input. We appreciate you. Well, we're going to go right into what we're calling, we have a name for everything. It's a kitchen table estimate series. All right. And this is going on for 2 weeks, y'all. It's our money and it's our business. What do you do at your kitchen table apart from eating at your kitchen table? I know a lot of people have their bills all over the kitchen table. If that's you, let me see you. Give me a thumbs up. If you have your bills all over the kitchen table, let me see. Just like what we have on the screen here. You have a calculator, you have your, so that's what we're doing with these estimate series, because we're taking it from Parliament. We're taking the discussion from Parliament, y'all, and bringing it right there on our kitchen tables. That's what we're doing. Yes? And so tonight, please have your pen. You have paper or get a calculator, or you use your phone, which reminds me, I need to charge my phone. All right, you have your phone and you're ready to go. All right. Now, before Miss McLean comes, I just want to give you a quick overview of what we did last night. So if Dave could put up my the Facebook page, on my Facebook page, the Marcia Week Show. And if you haven't gone there yet, please go and follow and like over there on Facebook. We have to build up all of the avenues, because when one is gone, the next will be there. Now, on the page, I wrote, before they vote, Parliament is debating the estimates right now. Before they vote, there is one number Barbadians need to see. Income and profits tax is projected to jump from 1.446 billion to 2.63 billion. Let me make that a little bigger so that you can see it and I can see it too. That is an 80% increase in 1 year. So we did all of that last night. Who remember? No, this 80% increase refers specifically to corporate income tax. GDP growth is projected around 5%. So how does income and profits grow 80%? Direct question to Minister Strawn and the Parliament. What specific policy change or economic activity justifies an 80% increase in income and profits revenue? And is this increase permanent or a one-off? Barbadians deserve clarity before this is approved. Now, I must say that I got some answers on this that I was hoping the person would have sent me the the change in how the corporate taxes are collected. And this is something that started last year. And I'm being told that that is probably the sole reason that you have this increase. So, but I want to be able to show it to you in a document form, all right? And we go through it together on the show. So I'm waiting on that. So we might have some answers to this this 80% increase in corporation tax. We will wait to see. All right. All right. So everybody remember, do you remember that? We're just reminding you, Dave, we'll put up the next picture, and then right after that, Miss McLean is going to join us. All right. So tonight, the people in question that we're going to be talking to, mainly the ministers, will be, of course, the Prime Minister, the Honorable Prime Minister Mia Mottley. Then there is the Minister of Finance, yes, Minister Strawn, and the Minister of Education, who is Minister Chad Blackman. But there is another graphic there with with the Prime Minister, and also with the Prime Minister, and also Mr. Strawn. All right, let me just make sure that I've got that right. So that's the one that talks about the overview of revenue, right? 1.3 billion. All right, so let me just read that as Dave gets it up. 1.3 billion more is expected to be collected next year. So it's important that we get this, because that's where now we're going to move from this and go into VAT. We talked about we talked about this last night, and but we're going to go now, and we're going to go a little bit more in depth and look, where is this money supposed to be coming from? Somewhere in this country, 1.3 billion more is expected to be collected next year, or this year, this financial year. Government revenue is projected to rise to 5.179 billion. Write it down. Write it down. That represents a 34.3% increase in 1 year. The question is, from where? Barbadians deserve clarity before this is approved. This is whose money? Your money. Your money. And so you ask the question. You ask the question. Let me please take, if you want to take a screenshot of it, go ahead and take a screenshot. And while you're at it, have you shared yet? Have you liked? Did you share? Did you like as yet? Anybody? Folks, this is going to be good, you know. At 9 o'clock, we're going to be opening up the line for you to call in. So you've got to follow what's going on. Okay, don't go to sleep on me now. We're going to try to make this exciting. All right. All right. Well, you know, let me bring Miss Maxine McLean in, as we're going to talk now. Dave, you can bring in the one that says goods and services. You can put that up now. Thank you, Dave. That's the last one that you received. And this is good because at this time, people are, you know, they are getting their, make sure that they're liking, they're sharing, they have the pen, the pencil, the paper, the book, the tablet. And Miss McLean, are you ready? Give me a thumbs up if you're ready. Yes. Ready. Good evening, Miss McLean. How are you? We're not hearing. So let's try to go out and come back in. Let's try that. Yeah. We endure here, guys. We endure. Everybody, did you like and share? Dave, you can go ahead and put that picture up while we wait on Miss McLean to get back in. All right. So, folks, we wait on Miss McLean to get back in, we are going to talk about VAT. And we're going to talk about how it appears in the estimates. What are their plans for VAT? Right. So we want to take a good look at that. Now, one of the areas that they say that they're going to be able to raise this 34% increase in revenue is from goods and services. So this is what the government is saying in the estimates. All right. They're saying, okay, we believe in 1 year we're going to raise our revenue by 34%. And this is the way that we're going to be able to do it, through goods and services. And when they talk about goods and services, that includes VAT. Yes, includes VAT. And bottom line, we're talking about when you buy groceries. So this is not corporation tax. This is not IMF money. This is not grants. This is not loans. We're talking, guys, about consumption VAT, which is it's like a consumption-based tax, excise tax, but mainly VAT is where they plan to get this. One of the ways it says through goods and services. All right. This is money collected when you buy groceries, when you pay bills, when you shop, like you shop till you drop, and when you pay for services. So, folks, this is everyday people money. And you know what they're saying? The 2026 to 2027 numbers, all right? The revenue is 5.17 billion, 79 billion. The expenditure, they're estimating that they're going to spend is 5.857 billion. So right away, we can see that there's a deficit. The expenditure is more than the revenue. Can you see that? Look right there. Right in this section where it says the 2026 to 2027 numbers. The revenue is 5.179 billion, and the expenditure, so this is the money that comes in is less than the money that we are spending. So there is a deficit of 678 million. And guess what? They are saying that VAT, $120 million more. They're expecting to get $120 million more. From who? Who are they expecting to get that from? Anybody? Who are they planning to get that $120 million from? I want to hear from you. I don't want you, don't go off and sleep on me and go and watch something else because we're dealing with numbers. Go at your kitchen table and get your pen and paper out. This is a kitchen table estimate series, y'all. All right. So, anybody? Yes, Judy. Bajans. Somebody said the peasants. Anybody else? The taxpayers. Keep writing while I bring Miss McLean in. Good night, Miss McLean.
Keeping my fingers crossed. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. I can hear you.
I can hear you too. Very
Yes.
well. Mhm.
Yes. So we were in the middle of talking about this increase in VAT that they are saying that that they expect this. This is part of what they're expecting, 120 million, and that obviously is going to come from the people, from our pockets, Miss McLean. I
Yeah.
don't know how they plan to get this here with when wages barely increase by a few cents in terms of minimum wage. How are we? I've been talking, waiting for you to come in. Can you jump in and talk about this increase that they're expecting of 123?
Okay, let me say very quickly that with inflation, government's VAT take will increase. So as prices rise, we recognize that if the rate stays constant, but the base on which it is calculated. So if something is 50 cents today
Mhm.
and you put on the 17.5, the government will get almost 9 cents, you know. And if it goes up to 100, they're going to get 17 cents, 17.5 cents. So what it really says is even if your salary is not increased, if your salary is reduced, but you have to spend, once prices go up, the the tax take from VAT will go up. So that is one area in which increases will happen. And in fact, that is why people who look at VAT would often say when prices are increasing, when there's that inflation, government can try to ease consumers by reducing the VAT. And in fact, there was a promise to take VAT back to 15%. So that is one possibility. And with all that is happening now, it is likely that in the short to medium term, if the uncertainty that we talked about last night materializes over time, prices will probably go up. And so that will be a boost to government's revenue. Now, the other thing is that you can assume that they are also anticipating increased consumption, because once you consume and the items are vatable, you will pay that VAT. So if there's no reduction in VAT, if there's a high chance of increases in prices, and if there is a likelihood that people will consume more, then all of those things, one or all of those things can come together to generate that revenue. So it is for them. They're not going to come and tell you prices are increasing and we're gonna see the benefit of that. But so that is where it's likely to come from. You could also look at the consequences. Who bears a disproportionate burden in terms of VAT? The people who spend the most of the income on items that are vatable. So when you think of a poor Barbadian, a person earning less money, that individual or that household will spend a higher percentage of their disposable income on items that will attract VAT. They don't have money to save because they're living from paycheck to paycheck. So you would see that they will be paying a disproportionate percentage of their income on items that will attract VAT. So it will hit them harder if prices go up. Then their contribution, it's gonna be more difficult for them
Yeah.
as they make their contribution to VAT.
Yeah, but Down by Nature raised a question here because which I was thinking of, because it would seem that they're expecting us to spend. We're going to spend more, but what she's saying, and it's something to think about, is we have to look at it from all angles. If prices go up, but not my salary, I cannot increase my spending. So if the hope is to increase VAT revenue that way, their reasoning is flawed. And so that's what I was thinking as you were saying, that just to look at it a different way. Of course, we know, as you said, agree that prices will increase. Just
Yeah,
not.
well, what you're saying is that if my salary doesn't increase, I only have absolute X amount of dollars to spend, and therefore, I will not be able to spend more than I have, and so in a sense, the projections may not generate the level of increase in the VAT take as you might expect if people have a higher salary, etc. The other thing is, if some people may be forced to engage in what the government does, deficit spending. People spend use their credit cards to buy groceries. And
Yes.
that is a scary thing because, and that is another discussion for another time, but the interest rates on credit cards are anywhere above 22% per annum. So if a person is saying, well, I don't have enough money, but I have to eat, my children have to have school clothes, so they may involve themselves in credit. And however they pay for what they buy, they'll be paying VAT. You see what I mean? So,
Yes.
you see,
Whether your credit
will
card,
moderate.
yeah, but I think the takeaway here is that, I mean, if they're expecting an increase in that, they're expecting that we're going to spend more, as well as prices might increase, right? Well, more than likely they will. It's how to what degree they're going to increase. So we have to expect that. I think that's what Ms. McLean is saying. Expect prices to increase, and therefore through that they'll be able to collect that. But what about today I was looking at it and I wondered as well, are they planning to do some kind of enforcement, like to increase enforcement of the paying of VAT? I don't know, sometimes you hear that there's some companies and businesses that are not paying in the VAT. Do you think that they might be embarking on some of those measures as well?
I would suspect so, because when you raised that, it took my mind back to the introduction of VAT. When VAT was introduced, I was a director of Caribbean Commercial Bank at the time, and I remember some of the directors came from Trinidad, and one of my Barbadian counterparts asked the question of the experience of the introduction of VAT in Trinidad. And what was said was that there was a high level of non-compliance, meaning people collected the VAT and they didn't pay it in.
Yeah.
They didn't pay in either on time or at all. So there was a level of some people holding on to monies collected from consumers on behalf of government and keeping it. Remember, there was a big write-off sometime in the past here in Barbados. So what you're saying is that an analysis might have been done of the what trends are evident in terms of, are people paying promptly? Are they paying? Or are they withholding? So there might be a decision that we have to have greater enforcement. So that is another angle that may add to it. Or they may be planning to bring a whole set of people in this country that's gonna be consuming. I don't know. I mean, but it is there are multiple elements to this, but with the increase of the amount, the question is where, as you said, where is it coming from?
Yeah.
But they may be doing the analysis.
Yes. And that we talk about, I want us to break down what we prices go up. So let's talk about what kind of prices we're talking about. We're talking about food prices, right? Because we're at the kitchen table, Miss McLean, this is our kitchen table. We're at our kitchen table right now. So if I think it's only reasonable for us to expect food prices to increase if they're going to get $120 million more in VAT. Utilities, listen, Barbadians, fuel, insurance, probably.
Anything that is vatable, vehicles. I one of the things that I have noticed is that if you look at the borrowing patterns of people across the country and look at the amount of vehicles on the road, people have been importing, people are spending money on vehicles, borrowing money to buy cars out of a frustration, out of and I put it this way, some people don't see a lot of investment options, and somebody may say, look, you know what, let me go and borrow some money to buy a vehicle, and the price of vehicles is significant. So there are all categories of expenditures that you can think about. You're back. You dropped out there for a minute.
Yes.
So you're correct. The question is, they're expecting us to spend. And so chances are they will be charging, we will be charged for all those things. In terms of food, of course, there's a basket of goods that's exempt. Now, the question is, what percentage of your food consumption does that basket represent? So it may not be, you understand, it may not be significant. So food is going to be a big element of that, especially for people with lower incomes who spend a significant percentage of their disposable income on food and utilities and so on. So you're correct.
Yes. And the reality is, Ms. McLean, that even though they're going to get this $120 billion, we're still going to be running a deficit. And so the question is, will the pressure be on consumers? So they have this structural gap. Are we the ones that are going to feel the pressure because of they're going to have to fill that somehow? Whether it's borrowing in our personal lives, as you said, we use a credit card, right? We borrow to close up that deficit. And so even with higher VAT collections, they will still be running a deficit.
Yes, they will. And as you said, who will bear the burden in the immediate and the medium and long term? The taxpayer, the taxpayers, the average Joe or Jane in Barbados. So we are the ones who will face levies. And the unfortunate reality is that when we pay these levies, I mean, there was a health levy, and there was the sewage and whatever that we pay along with our water bill, etc. And when we do this, our expectation is that money will be put to good, efficient, and effective use. I use those two words deliberately. Efficient in terms of how the money is used, and the whole issue of a reduction of waste and wastage, and effective in that it is used where you say it is supposed to go and have the kind of results that we want. So, for example, when we collect a health levy, we want to hear as taxpayers, X amount has been collected each quarter or each month or each year or whatever, and this is how it has been allocated, and we can see it translating into proper delivery of service. And that's absolutely critical, because as I repeat again, when it comes down to the bottom line, the average taxpayer is the individual who will be expected, who will bear that burden.
Yeah. Well, I mean, let me see if I can read some of the comments from people. Remember, guys, that you can call in after 9 o'clock. The line will be open for you, and we can take any kinds of calls. Thank God. Thanks to Dave and Michelle, we can take any kind of calls. So, but somebody says that people cutting back. Somebody's saying here people will let the cars home and catch a bus soon from now, but you might just have transportation if bus fares go up as well.
Marcia, I would have sent you an analysis done because remember I did promise to reach out to some economists and so on. And you might have seen sometime in the past an article written by Dr. Adrian Carter, an economist. And so he has set out some observations. And I believe if you go a little further down, Dave, you might see reference to the deficit as well. For example, current revenues and total expenditures are projected to increase by 10% and 90%, the highest estimated growth for both items in recent years, respectively over 2025 approved. This is significant and questions of affordability of the budget for the country and the capacity of the government to finance the funding gap that will result. Government will need to raise large amounts of cash during the period or seek substantial financing to support the higher level of spending to pay its bills. So I think, Marcia, that's an example of what you're saying. And Dr. Carter has gone through, looking at some numbers. And so those persons who, are very much part of the discipline of economics, and I'm sure the accountants will have similar thing, is indicating that they too have some concerns. So it's saying that they may have to, they will need to raise large amounts of cash. So where does it come from? And then he goes through the same numbers that we looked at last night, where we saw a rise and then a decline. And so the question is, what is so magical about this year, Marcia?
That's it. And that's what we're hoping, that Barbadians will take it very, very, very serious. This is important. We know, Mr. Thorne was in there. He'll be raising hell right now. He's not there. And so you've got to, nobody's coming to save us. You've got to use your own eyes and your ears, and you've got a brain. And everybody, I'm thankful. Well, what's the name of this, the author?
Dr. Adrian Carter. If David scroll down a bit below, a couple lines below in the revenue estimates, there's a bullet there that says, come down a little bit further. If the revenue surge, especially stay there as it relates to the income and profits jump, does not materialize, Barbados will likely be faced with mid-year cuts, tax increases, higher government arrears, and higher domestic borrowing. The announced March 16 budget may provide some explanation for the source of revenue surge. So I think this because the budget was announced today. I heard it in the news today. So hopefully that will give us a full explanation. But this confirms our concerns. Let me put it as a layperson or non-economist. As you say, somebody who understands, sitting at the kitchen table. I'm literally at my dining table right now.
I know.
Close to the kitchen.
I know. Yes.
This is, as I said, reinforcing our concerns.
Yes.
Yeah.
And also, I want to just give a big shout out to Anthony Wood. He is an economist, and he writes, lots of articles. And he was one of the first ones that I saw, did a great analysis of this. So now we have Dr. Adrian Carter, we have Anthony Wood, and we're promising, making a promise, we're going to celebrate those that are speaking up, because we need all the voices to speak up. So we're celebrating everybody that's speaking up on behalf of all of us. And somebody's reminding us here that the Iran war will cause serious price increases for imports, and increase in airplane prices will soar. Europe has seen a 50% increase in LNG prices. I know that generally I can't. I don't know about Europe and the 50%. I don't have the source on that, but I do know that there will be increase in prices, and so this is why, people, we've got to make some changes. So I don't know how they're going to get that back, if people are going to not have enough money to spend. But anyway, we'll see what happens, right? So Ms. McLean, we want to move on, unless anybody has any questions. Re this $120 million. We don't know, so we're asking questions. That $120 million that's supposed to leave your pocket, right? And so we've done just an overview of this. And if you have any questions about what you see on the screen, or anything we've said, you might disagree with anything that we've said, write it in the comment section or hold it until after 9 o'clock, because we want to go, Miss McLean, right into education. Education, folks. Did you share the live yet? Did you share the live? We have some hard questions for these three on the screen. They're here to serve us. Yeah. So, Madam Prime Minister, Madam Minister of Finance, and Education Minister, we have some questions for you. So let me just start with a little overview there, Ms. McLean, and then you jump right in. And Dave can put up for us the very first chart that we have. Now, today in Parliament, the first ministry in the well was the Ministry of Educational Transformation. Every time I say that name, it just sounds wrong. So let's start right there, right? Let's start right there. In going through the estimates, according to the 2026-2027 estimates, the Ministry of Education Transformation has $330 million in etc. in operating expenditure, and over 114,000 is going to be through transfers, right?
114.
40 million, sorry, over
Okay.
140 million. Thank you, Ms. McCready, right? And over 16 million in capital expenditure. So we see that this is their estimate. Operating expenditure, that is the largest one, right? Transfers 114 million, over 60 million in capital expenditure. And we're going to go through what these are, right? So this is basically what it costs to run education for this year. Yes. This is what it is. This is according to the printed estimates. Anything to say about this, Ms. McLean, before we move on?
When we look, operating expenditure transfers, the question is, these transfers are to because probably I was trying to manipulate the document online, but the critical thing is look at transfers to what end is the first question. I was to whom or to what entities are these monies transferred?
Into education.
So this is into education, because I was trying to pull up the numbers.
Yes,
but
this is what. Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was saying before we even start to look at this, the question I want to ask, because remember the Ministry of Education, as it traditionally was broken into two.
Mm-hmm.
And the question, therefore, does this represent, and I know, I think it's a rhetorical question, I know the answer, does this figure, or do these figures represent the sum total of transfers, not transfers, of allocations for education in Barbados? Because remember, we're talking nursery, primary, secondary, tertiary, and I would say others. So the question is, what does this represent? Because are we getting a partial picture of expenditures? You're following me?
Yes.
And so as we look at, we have to keep that at the back of our mind, because as you were putting up that, I was going to look to see, there's a ministry of Minister Husbands, Sandra Husbands,
yes,
which is the Ministry of Technological and Vocational Training.
I was about to tell you about that. Yes,
and
go ahead.
So in looking at this, my question is, what is the total budget, and what does this represent? And then when we start to look at this, what's captured under these transfers? I'm going to see if I could pull it up.
I have some information on that, Ms. McLean. So the transfers, these are, it's actually the money the ministry gives to other entities. Right.
But this is what I'm saying. Which entities are those?
So for example, the University of the West Indies, which is why I was saying I'm going where in terms of this is what Sandra Husband is over, right? The Barbados Community College, right? These are some they give to these public institutions, Earlston College.
Which is,
And
yes.
right. So these are tertiary institutions, right?
So stick a pin. Let me see if I understand, because you're helping me to unravel some things that are big. So from what I understood last year, the ministry was broken down into two, and Minister Blackman was responsible for secondary education. Is he now controlling? Because if where does tertiary education fall? Does it fall squarely under him, or does it fall under Minister Husband? Because I'm trying to understand. You see, because in
Yeah.
looking at this, it makes
I
us
see what you're
wonder
saying.
how,
Yeah.
how are you accounting for the monies allocated to institutions? And because we have only just gotten hold of these documents, you have just put me now to go and delve a little deeper
Yeah.
into what is happening here, because my understanding was that this ministry dealt with secondary. So the question, if it still holds, or if my understanding is correct, what transfers there should be institutions, because if when I started to look at the estimates, they include breakdowns for individual secondary schools and so on. And so that would probably be part of the transfers, I presume. Operating expenditure would, I assume, include.
Let me just finish there, Ms. McLean, on the
Okay.
transfers, right? So that
Okay.
we get it clear, right?
Clearly. Mhm.
Right, exactly. And so, as you were saying, some of this is not just these tertiary institutions. That operate separately, but they still receive, government funding. But then you have like private schools, secondary schools that are private schools. So all
Yeah,
of
they
that
get
is
assistance.
included
Yeah.
in transfers, right? And then we go on to the smaller amounts like scholarships,
Mhm.
bursaries, special education support, for those special schools,
Yeah. Mhm.
exam fee support, right? So that 114 million is not being spent inside the ministry operation, like for salaries and all of that.
Okay.
It is going out to these different entities.
Okay.
The thing is, as you were saying, is to ask them which institution receive how much. Is really, I think, what you're saying. How do we keep them accountable? How do we know how much tertiary institutions they receive? Because it's now just said, it just says transfers. I don't know if later on as we dig in, we'll see that, but it just right now says transfers.
Well, what I again, as we noted where we want to get a clear understanding, I'm gonna dig a little deeper into that, and I then look at it within the context of the what I would call the scope, or the remit of this ministry, which entities come under that, because I was able to see reference as I was looking through the document, because we're looking at an 800 plus page document online. You saw reference to private schools, and I know that's a traditional form, but traditionally when you had one Ministry of Education, all those transfers would be from whether it's nursery to tertiary. But my question is, what is the division of labor between the ministry of Minister Blackman and that of Minister Husbands? And so that is some additional homework. The other concern before we move on, because when I look at the operating expenditure, my question would be again to delve into the categories of expenditure there in terms of what that accounts for, and whether and how does it relate proportionately to the transfers, especially where those transfers relate to the support. In other words, I would have to look and see whether teachers' salaries and so on are captured on the operating expenditure, because so it's really to delving into this really and truly, because that is about almost 3 times, the operating expenditure is about if you do it, it's almost 3 times, it's a little less than 3 times the transfers, and depending on the nature of the transfers, the purpose of those transfers, that is going to be critical to look at. And I think that is where people have to pay some attention to look at these things, because again, efficiencies are very critical. We have seen an escalation in what I call wastage and lack of transparency in the immediate past, allocations, whether it was in other ministries, but we're focusing here on education. But the question, and in all of this, I think the what is going to be critical if you're talking transfers to institutions and so on, what kind of resources are being put into creating opportunities for certain categories of our students. And I'll expand on that. I mean, you mentioned, and so we're talking about technical, what's the title of it? Let me make sure and get it. Technological and vocational training. To what extent are we dealing in this figure here in the Ministry of Educational Transformation with the training of students, even at the secondary level, in non-traditional areas and so on? So but
you're saying, how is the money being spent? Yeah. Well, as we go on, we have some other graphs there, and we might be able to, but we might just be able to to get into some of that.
Okay, well, yes.
Yeah, this one, but I want to just say one last question, one last thing about this one, Ms. McLean. Capital expenditure. When you think of the Ministry of Education transformation, you would think that because you're thinking transformation, but most of the money is used in the operating expenditure. I was thinking that we are going to actually see transformation, but we're not. The capital expenditure is only 16 million. We are paying salaries, and we are in the operating expenditure. So I don't know how much of a transformation we're going to see. But that's just my.
Let me respond to that, because after you confirm that we were going to look at this, and we did hear that they were dealing with education today, and as you are trying to follow as the debate goes, I went and I listened to the opening comments of Minister Blackman, and he talked a lot about changes in the system in terms of delivery and the preparation of, this is my, how should I summarizing what I understood him to be saying, that with the need to produce this new student who is 21st century ready, to become these world citizens that he likes to talk about and so on, and which is, we all been that for years. I am sure Barbadians have been gone out there and coped and done and excelled, not only coped, but in terms of this new classroom, let me put it that way, and teaching methodologies, etc. And the plan to invest in plant, improvement of schools and facilities, that capital expenditure will not do it, which is really, I think, part of what you're saying, that if you're making these changes, part of that has to be capital works, capital expenditure. Basically, to explain, Marcia, to the audience, for those who may be wondering, capital expenditure is money spent on, to put it very simply, buildings and so on, things and equipment that have longer life, that has extended life, so that you're not just buying stationery and you're talking about investment in equipment. For example, if you were looking at a lab at a school, you're talking about scientific equipment for students to do their research. I remember when we were supposed to have had a major initiative several years ago in terms of introducing technology, IT, and so on. A lot of money was spent, but the question is, what was it spent on? So if we are doing these changes, and these changes involve supporting structures, supporting infrastructure, which would translate into capital expenditure. The question is that number, in relation to the total picture, it seems small. I certainly would want to put that as a flag.
A flag. I agree. I agree, Ms. McLean, because if you're talking transformation, I was thinking about this today, and I'm sorry Mr. Bob is not able to join us. He was, he's a teacher, and I wanted him to join us, but he's been in the field the whole day of sports, and he came home and is a bit tired. He can't join us because this is something I wanted to ask him about, because when we're thinking about transformation, Ms. McLean, as you're rightly saying, and viewers, this would require investments in physical assets, in technology, facilities, and so with 16.3 million allocated to capital, I think as the citizens, as a public, as a parent, we deserve to understand what specific upgrades are they planning, right? Because if it's transformation, as we've been saying, I think we're expecting a bit more, but that we can wait until
they don't have to tell us what it also says is that they really have to tell us what are the elements, what are the transforming elements that we can expect. I did hear the minister make reference to the movement from primary to secondary school. I don't know if you heard that. But in the comments that I heard him make, because that was the first ministry, was that you're going to have, starting this year, the marks of, because a student in class 3 primary school, that's 26 to 27. No, that's 25 to 26. So because the school year started last year, 25, 26. But he was saying class 3s, but would be the students going into class 3 this year then. Wait, hold on, 25, 26, 26, 27, because you mentioned 28. But what is planned, from what I understand, is that part of your marks to be considered, or the results to be considered for placing students, will be performance in class 3 and the exam. But then they also made reference to who goes into the schools, that you're going to have a mix of zoning.
So that's policy, and I don't know, is that going to, how much is that going to cost for, all of that?
What does that require?
Dave, let's go to the next diagram, please, the next graph, because that might explain some of what Ms. McLean is talking about. We're going now to the nursery and primary schools, right?
Okay.
And just be able to see what are they proposing. So the budget is $178 million for 2026 to 2027. In 2025 to 2026, it was over $162 million dollars. Okay, so there's an increase. And those of you who have your listen, you
that's
have
your 16, just under 16 or 15.
Yeah, 15, 155, 151, right? So 50, a little over $15 million.
Over $15 million increase.
Yeah, there's an increase. So parents, listen up. This is where parents, we're getting down to the nitty gritty now. This concerns you at the kitchen table. All right. There will be a $15 million increase in the spending as it relates to for nursery and primary schools. All right. So this is where lots of you will connect here. So if we were, to drill down on it, Miss McLean, before you comment, within that, guys, we're talking about supplies and materials, because you remember we were talking about capital expenditure for these schools, right? Here it is, Miss McLean. This is how it is broken down. Over $3 million in supplies and materials.
3?
Yes, $3 million. And that has gone up, and there's an increase in that from last year by 825,000. So you're talking about stationery and all of that, right?
So wait, that is the total. Hold on, that the 3 million is the total allocation for supplies and materials for the school system of nursery and primary.
For nursery and primary. Okay. Maintenance of property. This is very interesting. The same over 3 million. In fact, it is lower than supplies and materials for the nursery and primary schools. I would love to hear what the parents think about that. So let's do that again. Supplies and materials, $3.6 million. And that's an increase by 825,000 from last year. Maintenance of property, $3.4 million. All right. So I have some questions there. With that, Miss McLean, because I want to know about these maintenance upgrades. Which schools are going to receive it? I mean, most of the schools, if we would say they're popped down, I thought that there would have been more allocated to the maintenance of property. And we want to know what exactly are you purchasing on the supplies that it will be more than maintenance of property. And then you have personal emoluments that increased, Ms. McLean, by 6 million. That is 22 million.
Well, Marcia, as you were speaking, it made me Google because, and if this response is correct, as of 2025-26, there are 12 public nursery schools and 69 public primary schools, along with 14 private nursery schools and 23 private primary schools. Now, I'm just ignoring the private ones for a minute. Put those numbers in relation to 12 and 69, that's 79, 80, 81 schools.
Mm-hmm.
And if you worked out on average, it's not a lot of money. I mean, every school doesn't need whatever, but they all need supplies and whatever. It just sounds as though, I mean, as the parents say, it makes you wonder, or it reminds us that oftentimes as parents, we were asked, or you would hear our parents asked to bring things or whatever. This is, what does it translate? Let me put it this way. What does it translate into what is available per school? But let me be very simple. As you say, we're at the kitchen table. So we have to make this make sense for the schools we have. And if these numbers are current, 12 public nursery schools and 69 public primary schools. And even if those are not exactly accurate, they will be very good estimates of what they are.
Yeah.
And so are we really giving the schools, when we look at this breakdown, what does this effectively mean?
Yes. In fact, there's somebody there saying that they can't see what we are looking at.
They can't.
No, they can't see the breakdown because I know because I'm looking at the actual on the estimate. Let me.
Oh, I see. Mm-hmm.
Dave, I just sent you some information, and I think that's good because it tells me that you want to follow. So Dave, if you check your WhatsApp, I know I'm giving you work, but if you check your WhatsApp, you'll be able to see that. And I think it's important parents, because this is where I think, in my opinion, that we get the problem when school is about to start, and where you have, the rodents taking over the place, and you have, not enough chairs, and windows dropping out, and the place just pop down, and because if your supplies, your stationery, your supplies, and all of that is actually more, you're budgeting more for that than maintenance of 80 something schools. Something sounds a bit wrong there. Jasper says it appears that more demand will be required of parents and teachers from their pockets.
Yeah.
Wow.
No, those numbers, because as you said, when you look at these numbers and you translate them, think in terms of the start of the school year. You go, okay, supplies and materials, 3,611,000, up from 820. Now the question is supplies and materials of what kind and to whom and for what purposes, maintenance of property. The numbers are higher, but I also heard the minister today talk about what I guess you could describe as an optimistic plan of maintenance and repair and so on. And he said that you're moving from the traditional practice of repairing in the summer to doing repairs and in his words, on weekends and bank holidays. So the question is, I can think of the allocation of monies to schools in the past. I remember St. Leonard's School, for example, was a school that was under construction and repair and all of that. And so I'm just thinking that if, according to what he was saying, some schools are 50 years old, I'm trying to remember all his words now that we're looking at it. But he was making reference to the fact that many schools are in need of serious work.
Yeah.
So my question is, if many schools are in need of serious work, is this figure realistic? In other words, maintenance of property, how many schools can you fix? Or, whether it is preventative maintenance, major repair, etc., on a budget of this. And so the question is, when you look at the allocations of the funds, are we seeing? I know that they've always said that governments in Barbados have not spent enough on maintenance, but if you are flagging, as the minister did today, my knowledge of English is good enough to understand what he said. If you are flagging the need to do these kind of repairs, and you mentioned that you repaired some, I think he said 35 schools last year or whatever, the question is, what's the extent of repairs? What was the average spend on those schools? Are we looking at schools that need greater work done or less work done? What is the nature of maintenance and repairs that will be done on schools? And that will help us to understand whether, because I don't see this going very far. I was listening, I think Wesley Hall, was it Wesley Hall that's under repair right now, and people stole building materials off the roof or something. It would be interesting to know what was the value of that, because it has to be replaced. I don't know if there's any kind of insurance will help, but the figure is small, Marcia. I can't put it.
It's small, but look at personal, look at the salaries, the personal emoluments, the salaries and the compensation. Look at that. What does that mean? It has gone up. There's an increase of $6 million in that area.
Part of that, teachers normally would have, there might have been an increase in staff, I don't know. But in the public service, there's a system of increments. So you may have, and then as well, if I presume in there, will be, with the increments and so on, there will be There will be statutory requirements, national insurance, and so on, which the employer pays, etc. So that figure may be explained in part by the need to pay increments to some staff members and so on.
Well, let's hope that are they hiring more teachers? Is that why? Because I mean, 6 million is a big jump, though, Ms. McLean. Are we hiring more teachers? Are we going to be increasing pay, as you're alluded to? Are we paying overtime? What is this? I'm so sorry, Mr. Bob isn't here. To kind of probably give us some some people understanding about this. But the question, I think the big question here we need to ask the parents and those the viewers, are we hiring more teachers, which we know we need more, right? And is it that we're increasing their pay? Are we paying them overtime? Yes. What is this? The workforce expansion? What is this?
That's about a 35% increase, it looks like.
Yes. But yeah, you worked it out. I mean, it's quite a bit. So it'd be interesting to know, it's huge. It's not huge for education, but in when you look
increase from 1 year to the next.
Yeah, from 1 year to the next, Valerie. We're looking at the percentage increase.
Mm-hmm.
It's thing. And so parents, look out for that. Look out for that. So we're talking about maintenance. Dave, if we could go to the next bar chart there. That's a bar chart, yeah. Go to the next bar chart for me, Dave. Right. So, wow. Now, this is the one I don't know. You're gonna have to help me to understand this, Miss McLean. Right? You got to help me to understand what is happening here. Viewers, take a look at this. This is school meals. I'm not going to say anything to it. I want you to be involved. What is happening to school meals? Miss McLean say nothing. Let's check the chat and see if they're watching. I'm the teacher. What's happening to school meals, folks? Let me, okay. So you can see it better. You have the blue pages, Marcia. Right. Thank you. Who is up? Pedro, come to the front of the class. We have to give them a sticker, Miss McLean.
All right, I got some little clothes somewhere.
Yeah, we have some stickers to them and VR. They're following. So school meals is what? Reduced. It is reduced. And so the big question that we want, it was 26 million,
yes, from
2025, 2026, and now 24 million, 2026, 2027. There's a decrease of 2 million by $2 million. Decrease. Yeah. So we need to ask parents, where you at? Don't go to sleep, I tell you. These numbers, Miss McLean, I love numbers. Numbers tell the true story. So the question is, Miss McLean, are fewer children expected to access meals?
I would hazard a guess. Even if there's a decline, it wouldn't be significant in the short term. I was just looking again, as I use the opportunities when you're speaking sometimes to look for numbers. And I was looking for, it says, I look here, and again, these numbers are subject to correction. This is an AI generated thing, but I was looking for the population of students. As of 2023-24, there were approximately 17,209 to 26,627 pupils enrolled in Barbados's primary education system, which consists, and it gave the number of government schools, the same ones that I shared. So 2024, okay, total primary pupils recent data indicates a total of around, and the 2026 was 2024. So what this is suggesting is that there wasn't a decline, but okay, no. So I don't anticipate that there will be any significant decline. In fact, what you may find is that there may be a small increases because we have had persons. I mean, if you go to the supermarket, I've been to the supermarket and I've seen some people who clearly are migrant workers because they don't, they look somewhat different from me. And I've seen some of them with children. I presume when children come here, they go to school. So I don't anticipate. The other thing that maybe they have been able to identify wastage, Marcia, in the system. I would want to
That really, well, I've been listening. I've been parents. I think this is an area for you to really listen out to, because from my understanding and dealing with people in the communities, I am seeing the need, Ms. McLean. The people are, for just basic things. I remember some children. They told me that if I don't go to school, I don't get a meal because what my mom cook on Sundays. So the school meals is very, very important
for during the
for
week.
a lot of families. So for their and these are their numbers, y'all. These are their numbers that you need as the citizens. You need to ask them very, very clearly. Why are we reducing school meals? Well, the
Are we
budget for
changing
school
the
meals.
menu?
Are we changing the menu? Somebody said, "Are
And
you going to
given
give
less food, less quality, something?"
something is different?" What happened? Are food prices projected to fall, Miss McLean?
Not what we were talking about that just now and what's
Oh,
happening. No, but you see, I hope well, it may also be an attempt to balance, to reduce the deficit between expenditure and so on, that you pull off some here and then say, we can have to go back and get a supplementary, because that may also be an accounting method, but the important point you're making is that one, at least certainly that I will make now, is that one, in the face of an unlikely significant decline in numbers, you're talking about feeding maybe the same number of children in a situation where, as you pointed out, Marcia, a lot of children depend on this meal during the week. And therefore, not only the provision of the meal, but the provision of quality meals is absolutely important. Because
yes.
we're also dealing with a number issue, because a child who is from a home where funds are limited, parents can't afford to provide the best quality meals, etc. Children are going to suffer obesity, perhaps because they may end up giving them things that give them a belly full, but that is not necessarily of the recommended nutrition. So something like this is really a social service that you're providing that is critical for a lot of children.
I can't see how it could. I thought it would increase everything. All the allocation.
Are going
There
up.
is they go up. The only allocation that has reduced is school meals by $2 million. And I don't know. I mean, I can't see where we're going to have less children in school. So this is something that you should use your Facebook pages, Instagram, and start to ask questions. Take these numbers up, because we don't have anybody in there to ask them these questions. They're talking to themselves. Take a copy of this, a screenshot of it, and write something on your page. Or write the Ministry of Education, write Chad Blackman. Begin to ask. We have 2 weeks. They need to be able to answer this, right? Somebody's saying maybe they're going to give them a lot of bread, sandwiches, and cutters, right? On a whole wheat bread. But whole wheat bread, you're paying more money there. You're paying more money.
Well, the
They said
person
that,
said they're being facetious.
yeah. It says that kids will be getting breakfast? Not on that.
No,
I don't
that
know.
wasn't a suggestion, but now I don't think that government. But you see, that is another issue right there. A lot of Carol M3R, a lot of children do not eat what is provided. Sometimes because of what is provided, you
Yeah,
know.
somebody,
But
somebody said they're going to get Robin guidance coming.
a good basic expression. I trust not. No, but you see though, while we look at the numbers, we have to look at the context in which school meals are provided. Jasper is saying that healthy foods are more expensive. The question therefore is, how do you develop a program to ensure that you can bring down the cost of meals, but at the same time provide healthy foods? Because I don't know. Well, you may be juggling figures to create a false balance. I think that is part of it. You put a number there, but it may also be, as you said, a question of what they plan to serve these children. And that's where parents have to pay attention, because
I heard it splash with butter.
Marcia, do not laugh. My son, I'll tell you why not to laugh.
Why,
No,
why laugh is because of the way it's written. Because I don't want you to.
I don't mean don't laugh at it. What I'm saying is, I'm going to give you something that would, my son, his first school meal experience at nursery school was some white looking, it was macaroni. And I will tell you what he described it as. He said, "Mommy, they give me something nasty to eat." and he did not eat it. And because when I saw, because nursery, you go school half day. When I saw what it was, I realized it was unappetizing looking. And the boy would not eat the school meals. I had to end up taking lunch to him during his nursery school days. And it really was, so it may, we may get a splash. No, but
yeah.
let us say that this number has to, or in considering the allocation, let me put it that way, it is absolutely necessary, because remember, school meals are predominantly for nursery and primary.
Yes.
And it is absolutely important that a child who is spending most of his or her waking hours in the school situation, especially after nursery, because nursery is typically, some of it is half day, I believe. I'm not sure. It's been a while since my son left school. But it is important that those children be given nutritious meals, And and no, I mean, this is and obesity and all of these things we've heard pediatricians in Barbados speak of the problem of obesity among our children and all of these things. And if we have a population that is prone to diabetes in significant numbers, think of what happens if, as children, because of limitations at home and poor nutrition, resulting. You see, but no, okay, let's look up very quickly at what Wendy Clark is saying.
Because we have, while you think about that, Dave, can we go to the next bar chart? That will be our last one, and then we get ready, guys, for you to call in. We want to hear from you, your parents, your grandparents. We spoke about the VAT earlier, the possible increase in prices, food prices, fuel prices, all of that. We need you to call in at this time. All right. So Dave, let's go to the next Well, go ahead, Miss McLean. While you
No,
read
I
that.
was saying in terms of what Wendy Clark is saying here, that the government, because we're talking school meals, has to be creative. We talk about food security. If in the current situation, fruits and vegetables are expensive, what about getting young people, existing farmers, and so on, to produce in quantities and whatever else? I mean, we have a problem, find a solution to it. You know, I mean, food security is an issue. We have to food safety is another one. Health and nutrition has to be tied in. So, you know, I agree this has to be a mistake. But the second part of the comment is one in which there's a challenge that has to be thrown out to the authority, where you link agriculture with, you know, the health of your children at school and in school meal choices.
Yes, yes. Well, lots to why we're doing this, folks, is to bring education so that when you hear these speeches, you're listening for particular things, and as a parent, you are an informed parent. You're a taxpayer. You know exactly what is in this when the budget is done. What is in the budget? You know, you know what the estimates are saying. You know what is going to be put inside that budget. You know exactly what they're doing for education. You can't say you didn't know, but it's over 700 and something pages, but we're breaking it down for you. There is a call. I will take the call, seeing that I did say, oh boy. I see this call. Can you call back? Please call back when I I did remove something, so I can't accept the call. This call just yet. They will need to call back. Let's look at this for about 5 minutes, Miss McLean, before we take that call. This is the examinations budget. Okay. And
Mhm.
remember, we're talking about Ministry of Educational Transformation, or Ministry of Education. You know what I mean. So examinations would be a part of the estimates. All right. And examinations, there's an increase of over 5 million. I mean, 500,000, right?
Yeah.
572,000. There's an increase in that. And
That's about 10% of last year.
yes,
Mm.
yes, yes. Right, and that's that. So what are we purchasing here? Is it printing?
Um, do they? I know the government. Do they still pay part of the fees for exams for students for number of subjects, etc. That enter? I think that may be one of the expenditures there.
But I thought I saw that up in transfer, but I could be mistaken. That is part of what they call transfer.
But
Remember
for
when we
this,
were going through it?
but
Yeah.
also, I think there's all, and I suspect it may be in here. There's money paid to persons who supervise exams, and so I would have to look to see
To see how this is
what is in
broken
this
down.
particular, yeah, how that is broken down. Because
Yeah,
that's a 10% increase. Again, are we seeing an increase in the student population of exam age, or what, you know? So that's a 10% increase of with the five from five and 5 to 6, because if you round the upper number, that's 5.947, that's 6 million.
6 million.
Yeah, I rounded up to 6 million.
There's something here in the that we're seeing. I'm seeing in the actual estimates in terms
Okay.
of supplies and materials within this examination part of the estimates, and that it moved. It was $22,000, and it moved to 152,000.
That's a big jump. I mean, it's a
That's a
small
huge
number
jump.
relative to the total thing, but it's a big jump in that category.
Yes, supplies and materials, and so write that down. We need to know what is that? What exactly is
They
being
pay
purchased here?
multiple times for the same supplies.
I don't know.
The
You know,
prices-
supplies and materials. You know, who we're buying it from? If it went from 22,000 to 152,463. Is it what are we purchasing with that? You know, is it the printing increase? Are we going to have digital exam platforms? Are we even ready for that? I don't know. Paper, equipment, what? We need to know why it ran from 22,000 to 152,000. Yeah. Let me see if I can get that person. Go ahead, Miss McLean.
Yeah, well, as I said, these are the kinds of um, analyses, or the examination. You have to the kind of in-depth look at these figures to see where numbers seem to jump up, and it is in smaller things like this. No, I like this. There are built-in leakages in the system. So
Yeah.
the leakage may be a supply, and the reality is that oftentimes suppliers overcharge government, sometimes unreasonably so. I mean,
Yeah.
overcharging suggests that it is not reasonable.
100%. Yeah, and as somebody says here that parents even provide paper. I know that they have to buy reams
Yes,
of paper. So I
often,
don't
yes,
understand that there's such I mean an increase in this
interesting.
particular area, and also we saw it in the primary and nursery
Nursery.
the supplies went up really by a lot.
Yeah.
But we have a caller. Caller, if you can unmute. Yes, good night, caller. Welcome to the Marcia Week Show.
Good night. Thank you, Marcia. Thank you, my esteemed friend in the other side. But I'm having a real problem with just common sense things. You know, why does everything have to be so cloak and dagger? Why, for the love of God, you just can't just bring the budget, put the people on the same page so that everybody could pull the rope together. Why are you going to be going through all this back and forth and around and about? You can't. It's frustrating. Up to this point, at this point in time, they still don't recognize that you need to be able to trust. We don't even trust the elections. Furthermore, and we have a budget now that's there, and you have to try to figure out which apple goes in which cart, and then which orange goes by in what shelf. You understand what I'm saying? There's too much. God is blessed to have education. We can figure it out. But why must we the rest have this tax on your mind to figure out what is going on? I'm tired of it. I am seriously tired of it.
Yeah,
And I'm
yeah.
pretty certain that my baby's tired as well. Do you agree?
Yeah, and I can hear the frustration that's in your voice, and that's happening. And I think people kind of just tune out. They say, "Listen, it's too much." Miss McLean, you were
But
saying something.
I would ask the caller, can we really afford to become tired? See, when we become tired, you see, as Marcia said, I understand the frustration. But if we become tired and we tune out, or especially in a situation like this where there are no persons there to represent your interests, to ask the questions, anything can go, and so I think my challenge to you is, what do you do as a citizen to keep things as transparent as possible, and to keep government and officials accountable? That's my question to you.
Well, obviously, the fear are going to be constantly to declare because, as you said, I can't afford to be tired, but I'm tired. But yet, it's as though you got to be going through these hoops, and therefore, they're going to be. There's nothing we can afford to take for granted. Absolutely nothing. Nothing. And I'm frustrated, and 70% of the populace is frustrated. Sometimes somehow there's going to be a break. I don't like bad things happening, but be honest with you, these taxes, you're gonna put more taxes, you're gonna turn around and then assault education. What next? I mean, the almost haven't moved in 7 years. can start calling all kinds of things. Like school needs, children are still going to school hungry.
Mhm.
I was asked to actually help to bring some school needs to the children. I was asked, and they want to cut school needs. I don't think I understand what I'm hearing. I trust that you guys be prayed up, vitamins up, because I'm gonna have to be constantly on this. Whatever is happening, I'm gonna have to bring the thing to the fire constantly as a Barbadian. That's it. That's it. I'm done.
Thank you. And I think he's, thank you, caller, for calling. I think he is speaking on behalf of a lot of people. They feel like they're tired and they've tuned out. But at Miss McLean, you asked the right question. Can we afford?
To
Go
be
ahead.
tired.
Yeah. Thank you, caller.
Thank you. Good night. God bless.
Good night. Yes.
You know, Marcia, if I just want to quickly return to that comment about can we afford to be tired? Because if we become tired, what do? You separate yourself from what's happening, and then you wake up. I mean, take for example the kind of revelations that you would have made on this program in terms of wastage, etc.
Yeah.
Imagine if you did not have that on top of the situation where people have been conditioned to ignore what is important in their lives, and therefore, for example, voting is not important. And if you're not interested in exercising that right of yours once every 5 years, or in this case 3.5 years or whatever, think about, if you're not interested in that, think about the likelihood of those persons even paying attention to what goes on in an estimates debate or concerns about accountability and so on. It means that you just exist and things happen and they're thrust upon you and you carry a burden, or I think it is important that people pay attention to those things that impact their lives, and not only their lives, their immediate lives, but the lives of the people, because a child going to school hungry does not get to learn. A child going to school hungry because his parents are not working, etc., develops a level of anger towards the society. What does that child do? In addition to not being able to fully benefit from the education, they probably get into deviant behaviors, etc. So I'm saying that there are consequences of things not happening the way we want to see them happen that may very well negatively impact not only the people in that immediate situation, but us as the people of Barbados, as citizens going about our business and trying to be good citizens. So we have to be our brothers and sisters keepers. That's how we look at it.
We can't afford to not, we can't afford to give up. And I will tell you, while I wait on a call, guys, feel free to call. We don't want to, because it's numbers, you're going to be disengaged. This is what we're talking about. You've got to sit down at the same way you sit at the kitchen table and you balance out your budget and you figure out your monthly and try to have enough in the month, money to meet the end of the month. The same thing that we have to do here. We have to put it down and realize on paper. We out of this session, there are questions we want to ask the minister. Why maintenance is so low? We want to ask. Yes, it's an increase from the last time, but it's still low. In terms of maintaining the primary schools, the nursery, we want to know why school fees low. These are things that, yeah, okay. I don't know if I understand what.
I think what the guy is, I think the guy is expressing a level of frustration, which probably translates into some people also. That frustration is because they're finding it hard and harder to cope. And obviously, as I said, if you think in terms of a child or a young adult or so on, who is finding it difficult and who is living, let's say, in a situation where people's incomes are not doing what they're supposed to do. And you get frustrated, you go to school, you get angry, you pick on a child, You get into a fight, you probably get into antisocial behaviors, getting involved, things like substance abuse, and so I'm saying that for the people of this country, we have to pay attention that the right things are being done to make sure. And I think I heard the minister use the expression that you're not going to leave a child, no child is going to be left behind. And it is important, therefore, that if that is the case, the child who is a slow learner is given the facilities to do that. The child who comes to school hungry gets a nutritional meal. So at least you know that at a minimum, this child would have been provided with this level of nutrition, this amount of food, etc. So
Yeah. And I got distracted there. I distracted my own self. I was telling a story about this gentleman who called me at the school on Saturday at our dad's school and asked me to come to pick up a donation for the luncheon that is being planned by citizens for the candidates. And I went to see him. Dave dropped me there, and we met, in the road. We didn't go to his home. And when he gave me the donation, Mr. McLean, this big man is a big man, not a young guy, not a mid-age, older, mature man. And Miss McLean, do you know he started crying? And he held me and he said, I gave him a hug, and I saw on his hand he has his hand, his skin was raised, and they say goosebumps on him. And this big man was crying in the road, and he said to me, Mrs. Weeks, don't stop, don't stop. You give this, you use this for the candidates. You all don't stop. And so I hear the frustration from this the caller, and I know it's real, and I know that there are those out there. Some people are afraid, all kinds of different emotions. But this, and I started crying. I got in the car. I cried, for a good part of the way home because I was so moved. Because mature men are not going to cry like that. But I don't know, people. This meant so much for this man to donate something, right? Towards he feels like he's helping this engine, to say he's pouring some oil in this engine so the engine doesn't, so that it doesn't stop. This car, he doesn't want this car to stop, and he's pleading with us, don't stop. And you could feel the love of Barbados, the love for Barbados. I heard it from somebody in the diaspora as well. So, Marcia, how can I stop? This is the home of my grandmother. It's the home of my mother. This is where I grew up. I can't stop. I can't stop. I have to watch over Barbados. There's a question on there for you, Miss McLean.
what about angry, frustrated adults? You see, I mean, in the same way that the gentleman emotional because he understands the impact and the seriousness of what you are doing in highlighting the concerns that people have, the experiences that people have. I mean, these are real, and the fact that you're able to highlight them and get some of these things addressed in the case of people in need, get them addressed in the situation where people get to understand issues and help them to grapple with those issues. In the same way, people who are not heard, not seen, because Barbadians, I mean, like any other person, Barbadians are said to be proud people. Barbadians will suffer in silence, some of them. But you see, that suffering will go so far, and then it spills over into negativity and so on, whether it is self-destructive or it is destructive of others. I mean, I was talking to a schoolmate of mine who was visiting from a former schoolmate of mine who was visiting from overseas. And part of that conversation was about what is happening to Barbadians at home. You know, people seem to be manifesting a level of anger and frustration in a situation where they do not have the psychological, the mental or physical or whatever, not so much physical, but mental tools to deal with managing and controlling those feelings, you know, conflict resolution and so on. I mean, we have had 8 deaths for the year so far, and we just into March. Yesterday alone, and the question is, what is happening here?
Yesterday we had 2. Is it 2 murders we had yesterday?
3.
3. Wow.
Yes, as far as I know. Yes, there was an elderly man who was attacked by somebody who seemed to have had psychiatric problems, and one person died and 2 other people were injured. So there were 2 murders and then this one, you know. And so there's, let me put it this way: we cannot afford, and I say we because you and all the persons who work with you have committed themselves to making a difference. You can go off and be an accountant that you are, make your films, you know, and say, well, too bad. But think of all the people who would have been touched by what we do. And this is not exaggeration. And for those out there who would rather us stop this, let me say to them now that in a lot of ways, this kind of exercise constitutes what I would describe as a pressure valve. You know how a pressure cooker works?
Mm-hmm.
You cover it down and you open it suddenly, or it explodes on its own if the pressure isn't regulated. A lot is happening in this country that people want to ignore, but we do so at our own peril. Let me put it like that. If we don't seek to help people to understand some of these things and perhaps demand changes, etc., we're going to see Barbados more rapidly evolving into a society that becomes not a good place.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's what it is really. We're going to continue along that line, because I think I can feel, you can feel that a lot of people are feeling what that caller is feeling. But let me just say, somebody, I think it's Princess and Jasper. Princess and Jasper, they're onto something, Miss McLean. They're saying that 6 million increase in the personal emoluments, the salaries, and so on, could be as a direct result of the 2 ministers.
Some kind of duplication of positions and so on.
2 ministers for education, increase in the cost there, where that could have been used for our children, used in another way for our children. You have children. You have 2 ministers in a ministry that traditionally we've always had 1 minister. So again, these are some of the things that get people frustrated. Why would you have money to be spending it like that when people? I mean, school meals. We don't know the reason, but school meals is decreasing by 2 million. But you are increasing the salaries and so on by 6 million. Let me take this call. Good evening. Welcome to the Marcia Week Show.
Good evening, Marcia. Long time no hear.
Hello, Mr. Gill.
And still in the land of the living.
Yes, it's good to hear you, and I'm so glad. Thanks to Dave Weeks and Michelle. I can talk to you on a regular, because you're calling me from a regular phone, and you're loud and clear. Can you hear him, Miss McLean? Miss McLean, can you hear
Yeah,
us?
I can. I had muted. I
You
had
heard
muted
it.
my
Yes,
mic.
yes.
Yeah.
Go right ahead, caller. Go right
Yes,
ahead.
Mark. Yes, Mark. I see you're talking estimates, and I get a little rebound. Is it affecting you?
No, 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 no.
Okay. I see you're talking estimates and education, and I just heard you as I came in. You were speaking about people who are frustrated and disillusioned. Now, Martha, let me tell you something. I told you how I came involved in the voting exercise because a very good family friend, almost as close as family, took ill, and he was asked by the doctor to come out. I was about what? 3 weeks. He was in the field since last year, July. And I said to him, well, speak with your boss, which is sure, Kamara, and see what talk and see what happens, right? But I know when panic like that gets severe in a election setting, all hell has broken loose. There as it may, I therefore have enough interest as a candidate, as an elector, to say that based on the words which the CEO of the EBC, of the Electoral and Boundary Commission, said or reported kind of that I didn't hear, but if any of you heard, you could say yes, it was so. That a list comprising 271 electors was presented to the public. I think we have a population of 282. Now that is about 96%. You're talking about 96% of Barbados is on the list. And then I heard that this is madness. Then I heard that 11,000 underage were on the list. And then I could speak of my own experience. And I think I spoke to you about it. That was probably my last call before election. When I said, it's either there or Slocum on VOD. One of the, I think it might have been Slocum. But anyway, in the nomination process, you need somebody to nominate, somebody to second, and 2 witnesses. So that's 4 people. When we reached the person who was seconded, and he was surprised, we were all surprised. He said, well, all right. Hold this until after lunch because the other people were waiting to get it. I physically went and picked up one of my best friends for years who had voted in the constituency in RA1. Took him over to St. Michael's School, only to realize, you see, things happen for a purpose because there was somebody else who was outside willing to come in, and I said, no, let's go for this person. And when he got there, he realized he was not on. And he said, whoa. So the lady, the return officer said, well, don't move. Call somebody else, and I will see if they're on. He said, let me call my niece. He called his niece. And he gave the name to the return officer. She said, she is not on either. I said, what? He said, all right, I go to my sister because the 3 of them live at their house. Brother, sister, niece. And the sister was on. I went and I collected her and she came. So Marcia and Maxine, y'all are people who deal with figures. Y'all are frightened for figures. Y'all know probability. The probability that 3 people out of, that would be 3 out of 8 are not on the list. That is a high probability. And then the probability that 2 people out of a household of 3 not on the list, that is a 60%. And from then I said, this list is either it is impaired. It has been tampered. When I use the word tampered doesn't necessarily mean willfully interfered with. If you take your car and somebody fools around and comes back, thinks they've done a good job and come back and you can't move, it's been tampered with. And it's corrupt. In other words, it was put together badly. And those are not grounds upon which an election should be played out. It doesn't fit the purpose. It's not suited for purpose. I know as a sportsman, from the time I was a boy at school, I protested 2 games when I was at school. One was a football game. We went to Belfast a morning and people were still grazing the sheep on the field. No bars been put up yet. Then it came hurdy bam bam, half hour gone. The captain looked at me and said, look, David, we can protest this game. Or we going back to town. I said, no problem. And we protested it and won. And the same thing happened again. I, as captain of the hockey team, and no less a person than President Bostic, my good friend. He was playing for Combermere, I for college. Half the team turned up, and half was at camp. But that was about the second or third time we tried to get that fixture come off. And Marcia, I protested and learned. And then as a grown person, captain in my club, and then in the community sport, I must have protested about some 10 games. Not the first time, second time, and maybe third time that it was scheduled and it didn't come up, and I protested it. So I'm saying to you, I have a great nephew. I saw him last week. I said, Chrissy, not Chrissy, I said, Charles, did you vote? He laughed. He said, no, because my name is on the list. And he turned 18 he turned 20 last year. I think he's going to be 21 this year. I have a sister who's not on the list. And she was told you better be home when the body passed back. Someone from Pine Garden who was down to vote in Pike Corner. Someone, and she should have voted at the Paul School. Then there's another young lady who met me and told me over the weekend. She was to vote at St. Cyprian's and was down to vote at St. Margaret's and St. Joseph. This thing is too rampant. As the late George Michael would say, it is too thin a wafer upon which sacrament could be served. But that's only for now, but now in the future, people would say, well, look, it was so and so, and I think it needs to be protested. Right? So no wonder people are frustrated. You are assured by the canvassers from both sides, yes, you are on, and you go every morning to vote and no, you're not on. That's not good enough. That certainly is not good enough. Now, if you could allow me to the estimate. I heard at the 12:30 edition today that they're going to try this new system, which will be coming in vogue, I think, in 2028, where you do a continuous assessment and then a common entrance, or however they care to call it. But the common entrance would not carry as much weight as previously. I think I might be wrong, but it's some sort of a hybrid. And I would like to inform Mr. Blackman to check with no less a person than Dr. Karen Best, a former chief education officer, who would tell him that they tried something like that. And there was a certain degree of bias where your teachers at your school will favor you and be soft on you. It was tried in no less a place than America, where they have this continuous assessment from high school into college and university. And they found out, well, yes, maybe it would help the underprivileged child a lot more, etc. But they carried out research and they saw that the degree of bias which went into it. When they did check, and you had a neutral person correct an essay or comprehension, where a child was seen to be scoring A, they were really and truly scoring C. So what they've done now, that no longer carries any real serious part. Most of you would have heard of the SAT. I think it's the SAT and the SET. I've prepared students for the SAT, and I could speak about it. They don't like to use the word aptitude test anymore, but it is still known as the SAT. And you matriculate based on the SAT. So what you would have to do, if you're saying it's going to be continuous testing, you would still have to have neutral examiners. By that I mean, if a child at St. Mary it's going along the continuous, where every term for 3 years or so they have been tested, that child's paper should be corrected by somebody at St. Ambrose. The one at Wesley Hall should be corrected by someone at Eagle Hall. And your name should not appear on it. It should be I don't know what mechanics they're going to use, but that's what it should be. And you have a number, and you are marked based on that number. Now, when it comes to at the end tallying up, you have a much better, a much more truthful record. You see, so that in itself is already it is flawed. It is flawed. Let me tell you something. If you change up the content, the person with the whose parents can afford private lessons, tuition, because a lot of private lessons is given in Barbados, not now anything. That person can pay for that child to do the Marasali dance and to play worry if you say, well, you want to enter, you matriculate based on cultural things like being able to play worry and do the, you would send them to the last shit and you get trained. And you will do as good as a child of a lesser social standing with whom you think that culture is more linked. So however you can. And before I go off, Mark, children are wasting a lot of time at school. I should say at home. I was surprised. They had 2 days for election. They had 2 days for midterm. They had, it was another one. Oh, and then you have what you call form level meetings, where school almost ends at 1 o'clock. So in a term, you get 4 form level meetings, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Sometimes you probably get 5. Now, Mark, let me tell you something. Subjects which carry practical, IT, physical education, chemistry, biology, physics, you would see that they have lab days like Monday, Wednesday, Friday. If each term for 3 years beginning in third form, you are getting Monday, Wednesday, Friday lab off, you must be starved for time. Children are taking the day home when they say they have qualification. And I'm told teachers, take the day off or don't go to the class. So when you hear now, sorry to call the name, like Miss Paula and the lady who was the child advocate, saying that she was made to understand things were not on the syllabus and can't. The things were on the syllabus, but the children are not completing the syllabus.
Correct.
Only this evening, I had a 4th former. Only this evening, I had a 4th former. And when I did a quick audit with her, there is no way she's going to complete that when she goes into 5th form.
Thank you.
And there are big chunks of the syllabus which have been left out. Unfortunately, Marcia, not unfortunately, A-N-D, fortunately, I heard a scientist by the name of Terry Davis. I don't know if you know the name. He's Trinidadian and he's on YouTube. And he does tutorials. Very smart individual. And he said that his children finished the syllabus in 4th form. So that when they get to 5th form, it is a year of revision. Yeah. That's what it used to be in Barbados. If you do have anything, it's just a small topic that you do in term 1, and it's wrapped up in 4 weeks. So something has to be done.
Yes.
Rather than going into transformation, look and see what is happening at the core before you tamper with the syllabus. The Trinidadians are handling it beautifully. The Guyanese are handling it beautifully. Why should we be falling short?
Yeah. Well,
What should we be falling from? So that's
hear
my
you.
contribution for this evening. If you want to ask me anything, feel free.
Thank you, Mr. Gill. Thanks for calling. Ms. McLean, any comment before Mr. Gill leaves? You're muted. You're muted, Ms. McLean. And while she's
Yeah,
doing
sorry about that. Yeah.
go ahead.
No, I was saying that the whole issue of frustration would have been illustrated by the caller, and it is something that is manifesting itself at so many levels in this society. And part of what it has, and because we are talking about government and government institutions, it is absolutely necessary that government does some comprehensive reviews of our systems of delivery. We've seen problems with the laws, etc. And we have to get back to a place where, as a country, we are paying attention to standards. People have been compromising and accepting less than the best in so many ways. And as we do that, we see a disintegration of a number of things that have been critical pillars of this country. And I think it is absolutely important, because once we go downhill too fast, getting back up the hill isn't easy.
Yes. Wow.
Thank you, Mark.
Yeah, thank you, caller. Thank you, caller. Yes. Ms. McLean, this continuous assessment, they just need to make sure what they're doing, because right now our education it's at a point where we can either it's a make or break situation right now where we're at. We have so many of our children, they're at the brink. They're just right there. They're barely there. And what Mr. Gill was speaking of is so true. That a lot of our children are going to school, going to exams, not finishing syllabus or anything. And so when we bring something new, we're bringing something new, but we're not looking at the foundations. What are the national standards that we're going to have? How are we going to maintain those across the schools in order to do this continuous assessment? All of these things that we will have to look at. But we have a caller. Let me give way to the caller. Good night, caller. Welcome to the Marcia Week Show.
Blessed good night to you, Marcia. I'm not seeing two M's. Eminem.
Yes.
Welcome, caller. Good to hear you.
Yes, please. What I want to say though is that your forum has been very educational, and
Thank you.
it is like to attack your forum is like attacking secondary school and university. So I don't agree that some person who is a teacher should be hindered from teaching, especially if they are teaching truth, if they're opening the eyes of people and such like. So it would seems to me like there's only one kind of noise that gets under people's skin, and that is the noise that you can interpret. Now, you see, when I hear people speaking Spanish and French and such like, it don't bother me, because I don't understand a word that they're saying. But as long as they're speaking something that I can understand and it touches me, gets under my skin, then that's the time I start to keep noise. So maybe we're getting under somebody's skin. And I don't think for one moment that you should be used as a scapegoat. I understand that a scapegoat is a person or group that that have been used to bear the burden of others. You know, um, what burden are you bearing? You open the eyes of people, you know, but some person or persons don't want you to do such, because to open people's eyes that you want to remain closed seems to be uh, making you an enemy, so to speak. But I would I would say this: you ought to be what did Arabara say? You ought to be a friend of all and a satellite of none. When I consider the national anthem, you know that the national anthem is a story.
Tell me.
You know it's a story. In plenty and in time of need, when this fair land
Yeah.
was young, all great forefathers, both educated and uneducated, sowed the seed from which all pride is from. It's a kind of pride that makes no wanton boast of what it has withstood. It also binds our hearts from coast to coast. It's the kind of pride of nationhood. And this is what it has created: loyal sons
Amen.
and daughters, all
Amen.
who hereby make it known that these fields and hills, beyond whatever we can recall, they are now our very own. We now write our names on history's page, including you, Marcia, with expectations met. We have become strict guardians of our heritage because we have a heritage here. We are firm craftsmen of our faith. That is why you cannot move from the position that you're at, because you are a firm craftsman of your faith. We have chosen the Lord to be our guide for past 300 years. And with him still on the people's side, we have no doubts and no fears. So upward and onward we shall go, inspired, exalted, and free. And greater will our nation grow, both in strength and in unity. And I thank God for every son and daughter who have taken this pledge, including those who came from over and away and have made this land their land. Blessings on you, Marcia.
Yes. Wow, that was powerful. That was really, really, really. I mean, your contributions are always so great. But that was really powerful. I never saw it as a story. You saw the anthem as a story before this coming?
But no, I think when you listen, when you speak out the words, you recognize that it is in fact, well, he described it as a story, but it is also trying to find another word to kind of drive home the same point, that it is also a set of instructions um, about how or what we should seek to achieve as Barbadians, as people living in this country and loving this country. And he talked about our brave forefathers. I mean, they were the ones who planted, whether it was the right to vote in more recent times, the ones who came here as slaves and survived the atrocities of slavery, the ones who brought us into independence, early post independence, because we have been here for more than 300 years. And that's why the anthem will stay also, because the way the words are written, past 300 years could be 301 years ago or 3,000 years when we go forward. But I think if people would ponder on the words of the national anthem a bit more and ask yourself, how do I as a citizen, how do I as a member of this society behave, or what should I do to demonstrate a love of this country? And he was speaking to you in specific ways, and perhaps I should reinforce some of what he said. You have chosen by your marriage and your choice, both of you and your husband, to come back to Barbados and live in this country, to be good citizens. You could have done that by abiding by the law, not breaking any laws, paying your taxes, but you said, I have to do more than that. I have something to give to this country. I am brave enough to sit down and observe from the sidelines what has gone on. I see what I like. I will speak of what I do not like, or what I see that is not good for this country. I will highlight, with the hopes that people would take that and make a difference. But you could be selfish and say, I'm okay. My sons are pretty decent young men. I all right. Dave and I all right. But what about your neighbor who may need, your neighbor who may need some assistance, because we are each other's neighbors? What about those people who sit down in ignorance? And when I say ignorance, a lack of understanding of issues, but because they spend a couple hours a week, or maybe multiple hours a week, listening to the discussions that we have here, are better able to understand the issues and grapple with them in a way that is constructive. So I say to the caller, thanks because you see, sometimes you need to stop and think on things that we say and do every day, or that we hear every day. And when we pause to think it through, or to even in this case repeat it in a way that you realize that is in part instruction to us as citizens, and it reinforces. And as Angela says, we need civic-minded people. We don't have enough. And we don't have enough honesty, because there are a lot of people who will stifle their consciences in order to fit in, or to get a pick, or to, But I want to go back to something, Marcy, if I might quickly.
Yes.
That Mr.
We're at 9:59, and I want to talk about the Dave, if you could put that up for me, please. This is the luncheon for the candidates, the DLP candidates. Dave, can you put that up for me? Thank you. Yes, go ahead, Ms. McLean.
Yeah, no, I was saying that Mr. Gill made reference to some institutional knowledge. I think he made reference to former permanent secretary, Ministry of Education, Dr. Karen Best, about previous efforts to try a mixed system. And I don't know if she is still in the public service, but it might be interesting to well, if not her, to hear from some persons what systems we have tried before and to what end, in terms of,
That would be good.
get in. So I would say if I can get some feedback on what he raised. Okay, go
Yeah.
ahead. Honoring service
And
blessings.
yeah,
Thank you. Go ahead.
we probably need to look at, I will check on continuous assessment being done
Yes.
in other Caribbean islands.
Jurisdictions as well. Yes.
Yeah, how it is done, right? Yeah,
Right.
that would be great to see. Honoring service, blessing, sacrifice, luncheon, let in celebration of the candidates of the Democratic Labour Party. And I always pause there because somebody might ask, why not of the other candidates? All you have got to do is you listen. If you listened to the first sitting of the House, you would realize why they would need some special encouragement. And people they're going after people that they believe would be able to bring some challenge to them. And so we as citizens, we recognize what's going on. We're not foolish, and we are not going to let these 30 men and women be pushed down into the ground. Absolutely not. They stepped out. Those seats were won, but courage was shown, right? Though victory was not secured at the polls, faith and convictions stood tall. And so we're saying, join us as the people of Barbados, gather to say thank you. Yes? And to bless those who step forward to serve. And that's something that we're going to be doing throughout the year. We're going to pause and we're going to recognize those people who are stepping forward. We're doing it right now for these candidates. It's going to be at Palm Marine Hotel on Sunday, March the 15th at 12:30 p.m. In the day, it's a luncheon, and it's $100 per guest. You can RSVP. Well, the date is gone, but it's still being pushed because we still need numbers, and the full payment is due by Friday, March the 6th. You can go ahead and call me, and I'll be able to connect you to the administration who will be able to book the ticket for you, etc. Call me at 236-7000. You know the number, 236-7000. We are still, raising funds for the candidates. And so if you want to sponsor a couple candidates, feel free to do so. All right. You might say, listen, man, I want to sponsor 15. That would be good. But just kidding. But if you might just want to do that. And plus we're trying to make the evening special for them, more than just the meal. All right. So there are other things that we're doing. We don't want to give away the surprise, but there are some other things that the team is doing for them, because we just want to say thank you. We want to say thank you. I know we always saying it with our chest. We're not hiding and saying it. We are blessing the DLP candidates. And I tell you, there are people who are coming who are not no DLP, but they see the treatment. They see the treatment. We're doing it with a chest, we bowl, we big and bowl, and we're going out go eat the food. Yes. Sorry.
And you're supporting young Barbadians who are in training at the Palm Marine as well.
Yes.
Your choice of
Thank you for
location.
saying that. That's one of the reasons we chose that location. We went there for a dinner, and those young people were so on point, Miss McLean. I was like, yes, oh my goodness. I had to go over and compliment them. And I said to Dave, if we're doing anything else again, I would love to go to the Palm Marine. The service was beautiful, the young people. And so, I know that Bihoy had asked about it. So, we still have tickets, and we still need help. All right. So feel free to reach out and to do it, and do it with your chest. Do it big. Do it big. Nobody. Freedom of association. Associate with your chest. Yes? Good. All righty. Well, thank you, and thanks everybody for joining. Miss McLean, any final words before we
Well, I,
go?
I think that the whole exercise of looking at these estimates is a useful one. We've done it before, and people are getting a chance, as they did before, to understand what is supposed to happen with their money, to raise questions where things don't seem to make sense or they want further elaboration, and to participate in a review of something that will touch each and every one of us as citizens, as taxpayers, as business people, as parents, as employers, as employees, you name it.
Yes.
And it affects us all, whether we're talking health, we're talking housing, we're talking education, agriculture. These are all the fundamental things that make Barbados what it is. And
Yes.
so
Yes.
I think this is important work, and you have my commitment. I'm on board as I was
Yes.
before.
I know, and that makes a big, big difference for me, and brings a lot of comfort. And I thank you so much to Mr. Murray, yourself, Mr. Gill, who is not able to come on, but he's given his commitment that he will call in, and to everybody else. I mean, we're planning to have a doctor once a week, so that people can ask questions about their health. We're looking for somebody who's trained in agriculture to be on, as well, once a week. And we have Mr. Strickland, who is into pensions. And so
Mhm.
he's going to be coming on to answer our questions, etc. And Angela, thank you so much. A show like tonight, we didn't have the 1,000 or the 1,200, but I know we had fantastic content. There is nowhere else in Barbados you're going to get this. I can say it. Where you're getting your bar charts and things are broken down. We're taking a whole section of the estimates, education. It's a big section actually,
It is.
and breaking it down, put it in charts for you so that you can understand and see where the spending is going, etc. That's amazing. And I just want to say this, that we're going to continue. I don't know what area they're doing tomorrow because it wasn't posted. When I went there today, I didn't see posted of what they're going to do tomorrow.
I
So
have
whatever they're doing tomorrow and Wednesday, we will do on Wednesday night.
Wednesday.
Okay. But we're also gonna mix it up and do some current issues, as well, because I know everybody's not, head is not into this thing. But it's important that you get your head into it. All right. So we won't force you a little bit. It's cool. So some of it is not what you like. Okay. And the community gardens, we must get that off the ground. And we need a few of you to say we want to be in charge. We want to help with that. We want to help. Who's going to help with the community garden? We need that. We must do that, Miss McLean. We must do that.
Yes, but that is absolutely critical. I mean, it not only allows them to grow produce, but it allows them to grow as communities and build networks and build relationships and bond and become better citizens. Absolutely. And it is something that I believe strongly in, I've seen it work in other places, and it also helps people to get outdoors, exercise. I mean, you name it. The benefits are multiple. So
Yes. Yeah.
what I think we will do is sit down and put some timelines together to roll out the programs so that
Yes. The community, and remember we interviewed some guys in St. Philip. They have a community garden, and what I
Yes.
need to do is go back and check on them.
That's
see
right,
how they
and see
do it,
what's
yeah.
happened, and see what lessons you can learn from them, what ways they can improve.
Yes, and move from there. All right. Somebody, Barris is on board with the community gardens. Give me a call on Barris. 236-7000. Where? Tell me where you are, and so that you can work with Miss McLean.
Marcia, I'll share a quick suggestion. We talked about Pomeranian and students. Let us talk about the agriculture students at SJPI and see if we can. I will make it my business to contact a former principal at SJPI who was also an instructor in agriculture to see if we can get hold of some graduates of the agricultural program in various communities who can take the lead in at least certainly transferring some of their knowledge.
Yeah,
So that is part of the planning that and
yeah, I put
tabling.
it, yeah, I put it
Mhm.
down. And
So you'll remind me and I'll
yes,
get cracking on that.
and Barry's call me, Barry's Ford. How can people donate to the luncheon? Tanisha, thank you. That's a great question. Tanisha, you can send me the message at 236-7000, and we will be able to send you the bank details, etc., of how you can donate. All right. So call the People's Line 236-7000. That's no longer my number. That's your number. And you call that number, and then we would I'm sorry, I just saw something because I thought of the same thing. God is love. I thought of it. That look at them, they're gonna go and roll out the community programs now, the community gardens. But
It's all right. If it happens, it happens. That's the important thing.
yeah,
But
yeah, yeah,
trust me, no, I don't give ideas, and if they do them, it's to the benefit of the people. The thing is to take it and run with it. We know what happens when you take ideas and run with them.
yeah. And you don't know what you're doing.
It
You
don't
have the
work.
heart for it.
You mess
Yeah.
up.
Yes. Tanisha, we can come and pick up the donation. Give me a call, 236-7000. That's where you start there. When you start there, trust me, we coming for that donation. Yeah? Yeah. Okay. All right, folks. Oh, this has been wonderful to me. I know a lot of because I'm into numbers, but all the best. Miss McLean, thank you so much. I too
You're very welcome. We will speak.
it's a sacrifice, and I appreciate it on behalf of the country. Thank you, ma'am.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Take care. Have a good one.
Yes. Bye-bye.
Oh, 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 what he has done for me. Oh, 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 what he has done for me. Oh, 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 what he has done for me. I never shall forget what he has done for me. Oh, 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 what he has done for me. Oh, 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 what he has done for me. Oh, what he has done for me. I never shall forget what he has done for me. You know, he lifted me when I was feeling low. That's what he has done for me. He lifted me when I was feeling low. That's what he has done for me. He lifted me when I was feeling low. What he has done for me. My Lord, I never shall forget what he has done for me. Oh, 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 what he has done for me. Oh, 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 what he has done for me. Oh, what he has done for me. I never shall forget what he has done for me. He lifted me when I was feeling low. That's what he has done for me. He lifted me when I was feeling low. That's what he has done for me. He lifted me when I was feeling low. That's what he has done for me. My Lord, I never shall forget what he has done for me. You know, he healed me when I was feeling sick. That's what he has done for me. He healed my body when I was sick. That's what he has done for me. He healed my body when I was sick. That's what he has done for me. You know, he never shall forget what he has done for me. Oh, 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 what he has done for me. Oh, 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 what he has done for me. Oh, 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 what he has done for me. I never shall forget what he has done for me. Hallelujah.